Conditioning. Not your hair conditioning, and no, not endurance training conditioning. Psychological conditioning is what I'm talking about. There was a person that I once knew a story about, and his story basically, it comes to mind and it reminds me of how it can play a big part in directing us or how we feel in our lives based on our conditioning. I'll come back to that, but what I will explain is some of the most important research that's been done, and I think it doesn't get brought up enough, is the Pavlovian conditioning that I'm talking about, where they used a study which involved handing dogs some meat, and they noticed they were salivating, and every time they did, they rang a little bell. And after a while, you didn't even have to bring the meat, you just ring a little bell and the dogs would salivate. So they were getting a physical response to hearing a bell without actually having to do anything like bringing the meat, which is what their normal body was going. Food's coming, start salivating. It's just conditioning. And our entire life is being directed by that, which is why I think if you can take this as important information, it explains why this story of this man, where he was in a great, fantastic relationship, and there's somewhere along the line, he was taken out by his partner. Fancy Italian restaurant, it was amazing, good food, and she dumped him. And that's not where it's interesting. It's more interesting when you take the story of what he did later, is he met a woman 15 years later, amazing woman, he'd gotten over all these hiccups through the past, and what did she do? She invited him to the exact same restaurant. And as soon as he heard the name of that restaurant, what do you think he did? He started to sweat, his body started to shake, and it brought back all those underlying memories, to which he was like, I don't want to go to dinner there. And it kind of upset the situation, but it just shows that how much conditioning brings a big part of our life into control. And so what it does is it also reminds us there's underlying things that once we sort of push away from once or twice consciously, they get programmed into our unconscious minds. And this is where it really gets interesting, is how we attribute certain words to certain situations or emotions via the neuro pathways in our minds. There's a particular thing where we don't have control of it. It's the superior colliculi and the inferior colliculi. Superior is for your eyes, something in the corner of your eye, click, can't help but look at it, it just makes us do it. Same with words, which is the inferior colliculi, and it will make your mind go, pay attention, that sounded like my name, or that sounded like a warning word. And we can turn it off every now and again, but initially we can't stop the initial words that get brought into our mind. And say if it's danger, danger, we start doing this without even worrying about it, and our mind goes, that means slow down certain parts of the body going to the digestive system, and there's less blood there because we're going to start running soon. It'll start pumping adrenaline and our heartbeats go up. So therefore, the word emotion is actually like energy in motion. So when we hear these words that we've been conditioned to respond a certain way to, we can't help that we do that. And by understanding this, it brings us back to being able to recontrol or recondition ourselves, or reparent ourselves even, to how we need to adapt to certain words. It actually brings to mind something like cognitive diffusion from acceptance and commitment therapy, or a bit of dialectical thinking, where you take what words you are hearing, don't quite grab onto them, and go, what else could I use for this word? Does it have to be as bad as that? And it actually reminds me of this morning on my jog. I was having a jog and it turned into a bit of a run. And when I got back, I thought, oh yeah, I'd tell my partner just how killer it was. But instead of saying it was killer, as in it was hurting, because it was hurting, a bit of the pain barrier, I said to myself, what's a better way to describe this? My run was awesome this morning. And I did, I told it was awesome. So therefore I've attributed the run as awesome, which does a lot of things. It encourages other people to want to do runs because they hear it's awesome. I want that awesome. And it also tells me later on, when I don't feel like doing it, how awesome it was. Because obviously there's lots of benefits from running and all that sort of stuff, but it's how you re-attribute or recondition certain events or certain situations or settings to a better way. So it can be killer, because it was, and I remind myself it was, but it was also the more better way of sort of bringing without grabbing onto killer and going, oh yeah, that's every time I think of a jog, it's killer. it's painful. No, there was pleasure behind it too, and it's awesome and amazing to get those endorphins and you know, basically exercising all the parts of your body, all the systems of your body, just by going for a jog. And so, like I said, many encouraging ways of doing it. But when you have someone say something to you and you get a normal reaction to go, get lost or go away, that's a conditioned response. It's like salivating to a bell with no meat. You know what I mean? It's not actually looking at the full picture and going, is this what's actually happening? Am I being led by my emotions and what my past experiences have been? Or am I taking into the present moment of exactly what's happening and going, the probability of it being the same is very slim, but you know, I'm going to react the same way anyway because I don't know any other way to react. Well, there is other ways to react. And I hope this gets us to take that little bit of time to do some dialectical thinking and kind of let the words float around to have different views. So maybe not killer, awesome, amazing, fantastic. It was totally buff running, you know, because it was exhausting. So maybe even try playing that yourselves and see how that goes, because if you can recondition your mind to certain events, it enables you to go after some amazing achievements, and it just sort of makes the limited beliefs that we have go away and become unlimited beliefs. So we can literally see ourselves doing so much more in life. Hope this helps. Take some time and think about it and get into that dialectical thinking.